Be patient and stay consistent. No matter what endeavor, I mean, that could be business, that could be, your fitness goals, that could be, your new diet that you're trying. But you have to give it time, and maybe you find out that it doesn't work for you, but you're never going to know that unless you actually commit to it.
I will steal from Gary Vee, and I will say that, try to live your life without regret and do the things you're afraid of. Because you talk to the people who are in the nursing homes, the things that they regret most are the things they didn't do. So, make those leaps, make those jumps, regardless of what it's involved in: fitness, health, profession, love life, that type of stuff. I'd rather live a life full of awesome mistakes than a life full of regret. And, that's the examples we try to set for the people that we love and care about. And that's something that I think if everyone did, we'd be in a lot cooler place.
Podcasting from somewhere with protein shakes and no yearly membership fees. This is the HeroFit Podcast, the show that talks about the ins and outs of fitness, nutrition, and anything else that might get you feeling like a hero. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your hosts, Nick Stutzman and Dan Weber.
Welcome, everybody, to the HeroFit Podcast. I am Nick Stutzman alongside my co-host, Dan Weber. Today's interview will be unique as we have our first episode with two great guests, Dennis Lesniak and Shana Maldonado from Quarter Deck Athletics, CrossFit gym in downtown Buffalo, New York. Dennis is the owner and head coach of QDA, earned his Master of Science in Applied Clinical Nutrition and Doctor of Chiropractic, has an extensive background working with various athletes on being successful in their fitness endeavors. He also actively competes in CrossFit and adventure races when he's not listening to audiobooks. Shana is a coach at QDA, having a passion for health and fitness since she was young. She found CrossFit 6 years ago and earned her CrossFit Level 1 certificate in 2017, coaching and competing herself with a goal of making it to the CrossFit Games one day. Shana has also recently opened up a meal prep business, Built Without Guilt, where she feeds your need for healthy fuel to sustain nutrition and a fit lifestyle. We're grateful for you taking the time to listen. Thanks, Dennis and Shana, for coming on.
We're at Quarter Deck CrossFit in Buffalo, New York. About a week after we took what was my first CrossFit class, Nick.
Yeah, that was definitely my first CrossFit class.
Definitely got my ass kicked a little bit.
As did I.
My abs are probably still sore from the 70 hanging leg raises that I did.
The toes to bar that you kept on touching your shins to the bar with. We'll get you there.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Wouldn't shin to bar be better? I
mean, maybe it increases your range of motion a little bit, but it's not what we're looking for.
Accuracy is one of the 10 aspects of CrossFit.
So you have to touch the toes to the fingertips or something like that?
So the definition of a toes to bar, technically, feet start behind the body, hanging, and then they will touch the bar inside of the grasp of the hands.
Okay.
So a part of the foot, typically below the shoelace, makes contact with the pull-up bar.
All right, so I lost some points there.
It's all right. Effort is our major thing that we're going to be judging and grading on in the beginning, especially when someone's new. But if you were to continue to come back, we'd harness that power.
How was the effort then?
A+.
All right, great.
Now they're just saying stuff to make us feel better.
I mean, if my effort wasn't an A+, I don't know what it would have been. I lapped everybody. Come on.
My day was not, I was not ready for that. My week had not prepared me for any running like that outside of football practice the day before. So I was not prepared for any of that. And I definitely was not touching any toes to any bar, hanging or otherwise. But I killed in deadlifts. I felt like that was fine.
I was just going to say, you really did enjoy the deadlifts.
Yeah.
That's his lift.
Yeah. I enjoy the deadlifts. Just not a runner. I've never been a runner. I don't like running. There's nothing about it that makes me like
defeatist attitude. Come on.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. There's nothing about that just was like, let's go run. And plus, I had just gotten these shoes, and I had never ran in them before, and so that was quite the introduction to that. But no, I definitely enjoyed the preliminary stuff where we did the band pull aparts and some of the stretching and stuff like that, and then to do the 8x3s which for just the deadlift, trying to get to our 3-rep max. I still haven't really found where that is yet. I know it's probably somewhere around the 400 range, give or take, 400 pound range for me. And then just going into that, what was it, the WOD, so workout of the day. And how do you guys kind of come up with that stuff?
So I do 99.9% of the programming for the gym. And one of the things that we try to do, and CrossFit prides itself on, is that everyone's needs vary by degree, not by kind. And we, as all of the coaches, and me as the owner and head coach, we do the same workouts that everyone else does. And if we are true to that word, that everyone's needs are the same, but they just vary by degree, then I can't say to you guys, Dan and Nick, hey, come in and do these workouts. They're good. And you're like, oh, you do these workouts too? No, they're not good enough for me, right? So I'm kind of full of crap if I don't do that. So that puts us in a position where we know how everyone feels. So you guys felt that in the abs with the hanging knee tucks and the toes to bar. Your low backs might have been a little sore from some of the deadlifts, and we all feel that. And so when we go in through the programming, what we're looking to do is get rid of our largest weakness as a group, because we're only as strong as our weakest link. And if we see something come up, like this past week, we did a workout that had a lot of walking lunges outside. And if I found that, people were exceptionally sore from that, a lot of people really had a hard time, we might start programming that in more regularly. So every week, there'll be a couple of movements that we haven't done in a little while. We plug them in, we see where they're at. And if it's something that we're doing really well with, we won't do that again for a while. There are certain staple movements we'll hit almost on a regular basis: handstand push-ups, pull-ups, Olympic lifting, things of that nature. So we'll see movements regularly, but things that we will change on a very regular basis. We'll have a couple longer workouts throughout the week, and then most of our workouts, though, focus in this 8 to 15 minute range, that workout of the day. That's where we can get a really high level of intensity and still move appreciable amounts of weights and do some pretty good reps.
All right, so you designed that workout, and Shana took us through it.
Yep.
So let's circle back a little bit and kind of find out about your background and how you guys got to the point that you're at today, working at the CrossFit gym. So we can start with Shana. All
right. Well, I first joined Dennis's old affiliate back in 2013. I had changed my style of eating almost a year prior, and I was eating paleo, and everything paleo in the blogs that I was looking at and reading was related to CrossFit. These people constantly CrossFit this, CrossFit that, you know. So I was like, what is CrossFit? So I actually started stalking out a couple affiliates in the area, trying to see where I could go. And there was one around the corner. So I actually spent probably a week driving by it, trying to see if I could see a CrossFitter, and couldn't see anybody. But I finally grew the balls to walk in, and I went for 5 days straight, and that was all I wanted to do. So CrossFitted for 4 years, and decided when Dennis got his new affiliate that I wanted to help people too. Went for my my CrossFit L1, and been coaching since. Yeah.
Did you start out jacked and awesome?
Oh, no. I had super long nails, and I was skin and bones and just lanky. I thought I was athletic. I did P90X and Insanity, and thought that I, was killing it. And then I joined CrossFit, and I was like, oh, this is fitness. This is like really hard.
She had like 2-inch long fake nails.
Really?
Grabbing a barbell.
I used to use a men's bar because it's thicker.
How would you have
it was awkward.
Yeah. That's impressive.
And then one day there's just no more nails.
Yeah. Imagine that.
You also said you were a runner when you were younger, when we were in here?
Yeah. So I watched my mom fitness a lot, and a lot of her fitnessing was running. And so I thought that was what to do. So running and crunches.
Right, jogging. That's how you get fit.
Yeah. Barely eating anything, not really knowing what I'm doing with myself, but wanting to be fit, and then paleo really changed the way that I ate. I started to actually eat like whole real food, instead of like yogurt and granola and like a Cliff Bar for dinner. All of a sudden I was eating like steak and eggs and, loads of veggies, lots of fat, all natural, everything. And it was it was a different world actually. And then when I started CrossFit, and I met with Dennis for nutrition probably, I don't know, maybe like 6 months to a year in. And he kind of taught me how to fuel around my workouts and like what to actually eat and how to put a meal together. And I was like, oh, okay. So then I started like eating to fuel my workouts that I was doing. Definitely made a difference.
I went down a similar nutritional path as you, I think. We'll probably get into that, a little bit more of that later. So then, Dennis, how did you get to the point where you're running and owning a CrossFit gym?
So my, I would say, fitness journey started probably when I was pretty little, playing like basketball, grammar school, and things like that. High school, I didn't make some sports teams in freshman year. Didn't play any sports then until senior year. I played volleyball, did a little bit of indoor track. Went to college for actually English and Spanish because I was pretty good at those, and I didn't know what exactly I wanted to do. So I started in that path, and then to fill one of my science requirements, I took a exercise nutrition class, Nutrition 108 at UB, and I was like, this is pretty cool. And then someone's like, yeah, there's this program called exercise science, and I'm like, what is that? So I started looking into that. I made the switch over to that program. While in the program, my dad's like, what the hell are you going to do with an exercise science degree? You can't be a personal trainer your whole life. You better figure out something else. It wasn't in as nice of words, but that kind of, I started looking into things. And at that point, I was working full-time to go to school, and the idea of becoming a doctor or something like that was really, it seemed out of reach. But I started looking to PT and chiropractic school, and I started doing really well in exercise science, and I started applying towards doing that, and I got into chiropractic school. So then I had my bachelor's exercise science, went to chiropractic school while I was there with my then at the time fiance girlfriend, who eventually became my wife. We got our master's in clinical nutrition on the weekends while doing our doctoral program at New York Chiropractic College. So we get through all that. Now what? We went to a gym that they wanted us to run personal training, do our chiropractic care, and nutritional counseling, kind of like renting space. Worked out for a little bit of time. Then we opened up our new place, and opening up a gym that's basically like a chiropractor's office. People are like, that seems kind of weird. And one of our friends from chiropractic school was really into CrossFit. He's like, you guys probably should do this. And I first heard of CrossFit in like 08, 09. Maybe even a little before that. And I was like, CrossFit's stupid. Like, this is dumb. And I was bashing it, and I'm like, this is horrible. And so during that time when I wasn't doing CrossFit, I did 7 full marathons, a 50-mile ultra marathon. And then in 2011, I did the death race. And then a week later, I did my L1. And then a week later, my son was born. So it was like this 3-week of craziness. And
you were overachieving
slightly. And so from there, honestly, it was no turning back. I fell in love with CrossFit. I love it. If I found something better from an exercise standpoint, I would be doing it. It allows me to be capable of doing almost anything I want at any time, which to me is awesome. And I never took a CrossFit class before going for my cert. And when I opened my gym, it was the second in the area. And so there was only CrossFit Buffalo, and then what was CrossFit 716. And, kind of just developed everything from there. Watched a lot of YouTube videos, learning how to do double unders and stuff like that, and just continued to progress and learn. And it's been a constant process since.
So for something like that, where you're schooled in many different types of, not only in chiropractic, but do you see injury management? Do you find yourself kind of working on yourself as you were kind of like learning all these different types of new workouts and stuff like that?
So, yeah, I mean, it's been a continuous process of trial and error. So I was a personal trainer since 2006. So I've been doing it for 13 years, and I've really been able to hone my programming craft. And I remember when I would first start out, I'd program these just dumb things like, we're going to do 200 of these. And then we're like quarter of the way through, I'm like, we're going to do 100 of these. And, changing it on the fly and stuff like that. And, there were times where injuries would happen. I mean, I wrote my first marathon training program that was 6 months, and it was horrible. And I'd never run 6 days a week again for 6 months to do a marathon. So it's been able to teach me a lot, that trial and error and utilizing my variety of background skill sets. And it's like, at this point, sometimes I'm like, I don't remember if I learned that in ES, chiropractic school, or nutrition. It's kind of just melded together, or if I've picked it up along the way with certifications from, other organizations and stuff like that. But it's just, I'm always trying to add new pieces to the puzzle to either help me get better. And I tell people that, like, selfishly, I want to be a better athlete. So it's always going to trickle down because I want to get better. Everyone else around me is going to get better because we're going to be doing stuff that works. We're not going to waste our time on things that are just not going to help us.
What were some of the struggles early on having, like you said, being the second CrossFit gym that you found, kind of now built up? You got a pretty big audience out there, but, what was some of the early struggles?
Getting people in the door is the hardest thing with CrossFit. Either people never heard of it or they're scared to death. And it's a big leap, I think, for people, period, to get in the gym. And most of the people, I'd say, every person I've met, I shouldn't even say most of the people, every person I met who's doing this for a living, they're doing it for the right reasons, to help people. And I think that anyone in your audience should not be afraid to seek out that help and walk through those doors of whatever fitness place it is, because there's people who are just waiting to help others. And for me and for Shana, Erica, Steph, our coaches, and any person I've dealt with in CrossFit, just even personal training when I was at the BAC and Golds, they're waiting with bated breath to just help people achieve what they want and be that support system for them. But like I said, getting people in the door is really that big challenge. And I think people see CrossFit now and they see games athletes doing things. And that's not what we're going to do day one when you come in. If I say, hey, let's go play football, you don't think you're going to the Super Bowl with Tom Brady. You got an idea of what's going to happen. But I think people have this misconception with CrossFit that it's ring muscle up, squat snatches, handstand walking, and that's the expectation day one. And like you guys found out, the expectation's effort. Just come in and do your best. No one's ever came in the door and like, hey, I'm awesome. Just keep me awesome.
And I guess for you personally, how have you fought that stigma to kind of, embrace or have people embrace the idea that CrossFit isn't as maybe as bad as some of the stigma might allude it to be? So, chiropractic has stigma, right? Would you go to school, in a weekend seminar, things like that? It seems that I've chosen to fight a few uphill battles, and CrossFit has definitely become more mainstream since 2011. I think it's more widely accepted. You see, you go to Catalyst, what do you see? They got a whole functional fitness area where you could rock out a pretty good CrossFit workout if you know what's going on. It's just constantly putting out the message that it is for anyone. CrossFit prides itself on infinite scalability. I have a 63-year-old lady who started with me in September. She could not stand up with a 35-pound bar on her back. And today, she did a static hold with 205 pounds on her back for 40 seconds. And we're working on her osteoporosis, torn labrum in her shoulder, and a variety of other conditions. We have multiple people who have started out with us that weighed well over 300 pounds that have lost a significant amount of weight. And so with our social media presence and when we talk to people, we're really trying to get across that I don't care where you are, we'll work with you. I have an elevator to bring people down if it is necessary, right? You can't use it to get back up if you can't walk up the stairs, but honestly, you come in a wheelchair, I'll figure it out. I have, people, all different disease conditions, abilities, levels, whatever. We'll figure it out. It's infinitely scalable.
I have noticed that I think your message is getting out. I mean, there was a pretty, there seems to be a diverse group of people when I watched the social media clips and when we took the class,
Yeah. It's
not like everybody here was an athlete, like you were saying that, keep me awesome. They're already awesome. It wasn't like that at all. It's people that are trying to get better that are all different levels.
Right. And I think something that happens with the coaches and why I asked what Shana was like when she started, people think Shana was always awesome. And I didn't make my high school sports teams. I didn't play sports in college. This was over time and effort and consistency. And that's another message we try to preach. Like, you want to do things. Cool. Awesome. We'll get you there. It's going to take time and consistency. There isn't this magic pill.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something we've learned from past guests too. It's never been a race. To think of your health as something that's far and beyond, not something that's going to happen tomorrow. And so that's definitely something that I think a lot of people in our society now want the immediate satisfaction and gratification of something like that, and they don't realize that it is a hard work and it doesn't come
Well, and I think social media, unfortunately, makes that seem more apparent, right? You got like
those influencers,
you got they're selling their stuff, and you want to think they're on the up and up, but most of them are probably doing things they shouldn't be doing, and or aren't even using the products that they're touting. And that stinks. And there's a lot of young people, there's a lot of people who are just trying to be healthy that think that's the way to go. And it's really hard for them to navigate those waters when the internet has made it that anyone can be an expert at any time because they got a 6-pack or they're hawking a product. And that's tough.
They could be just young and genetically gifted, and now they're viewed as an expert, and they're pushing a bunch of nonsense that they were given or paid to do, and like you said, don't follow it themselves. And
absolutely.
So
Shana, how about you? Going back a little bit, when you first started, even with Dennis, you were describing yourself as lanky and all that stuff, but how much hard work has really gone in for you, like every day? What's kind of your routine?
I would probably say for those first 4 years anyway, because I've been doing additional programming for the past couple of years. But for those first 4 years, I was definitely 5 days a week, CrossFitter, an hour a day, go to the gym, do my thing, go live my life. I ate well. I was definitely inspired by a lot of the girls that were at our old affiliate. They were ripped. They made everything look really easy. And it was, doing the workouts alongside them and seeing like, okay, they're getting better at this. Like, so if I could just keep it up, like I'm going to get better. And so slowly but surely, I just kept on checking off like goals on my to-do list, handstand push-ups, double unders, pull-ups, toes to bar. So you gotta stay with it. You gotta just believe that if you commit, the change is going to happen.
And even still now, you're making progress.
Yeah, even still now. There's things that I'm working on. I actually really never thought that I would get a muscle up. And now I'm trying to work on stringing them together. I got one. I strung it together one time. But
for those who are not knowing what a muscle up is.
Oh, so a muscle up, there's two variations. There's the muscle ups on the rings, which is actually what I got first. And then there's muscle up on bar. So you start basically from a dead hang. I don't do them strict. So you kip yourself up to the rings. You get the rings basically to your sternum on the sides of your chest, press up like a dip. And then on the bar, it's an aggressive pull your hips to the bar and then shoot yourself over. So have been working on those. They've gotten better. Still trying to make them even better.
What would you say is like some of your biggest struggles that you've had? I mean, obviously you're awesome as Dennis alluded to, because you definitely have the physique for it, and from what we can tell, you've done well. But what has definitely been for you some of the harder?
Gymnastics. I feel like I've always been strong, but I feel like the weight has never been a scary thing. So I'm fairly comfortable with that. But gymnastics have definitely been a repeat thing that have come up in competitions saying, hey, work this weakness. Handstand walking has been one of them as of recently. Back in October when I went to at the Atlas Games, there was handstand walking. So I finished first, but I was just standing there hanging out, trying to practice walking on my hands while everybody else was like, just getting across the line. So I've worked on it a little bit. I'm a little bit better, but not really. But
you are better. Don't discount your success. You have very long limbs and you're big and strong. You're tall. Right? So you crush barbells all day long. Shana won't say this, but I'll say this. 19.1 CrossFit workout. You finished what in the world?
74.
In the world.
72nd.
In the world. She finished 72nd on a workout in the world. Crushed it with games athletes. But her size is a detractor in terms of some of these gymnastics movements. So she's gotten to the point now where you're doing a lot better on handstand push-ups, strict handstand push-ups. Yeah. Her supplemental stuff that she does a couple times a week, there's days she cries, right? Like there's struggles for all of us. And that thing where we were talking about earlier, like I like deadlifting, I didn't like running. Like our job is to push each other and everyone else outside their comfort zone. That's where growth happens, right? And so every day it's doing that. I write those workouts like I told you guys, and I hit that clock for that 10-second countdown. I get nervous. I swear at my head, and I'm like, what injury can I fake? Every time. And if it's not at that point, then it's not going to help me. It's not going to help her. But dude.
I've come a long way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A long way.
Definitely. Like,
even in the past 2 years.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a difference between a competitor and someone who's coming here to be healthy, which is
yes and no.
To an extent. But I mean, in the sense of, obviously, yes, the consistency of it, but for where they might realize what they want to work on as far as the things that they're not as good at, that might be somewhat of a different, stage.
Goal setting, you mean?
Yeah, in a sense, yeah, the goals.
I mean, I don't like to put a limit on what someone's going to be capable of doing. So you might say, I'm never going to do a muscle up, or I can't do a muscle up. And we'll add at the end, yet. Because if you're here for 6 months, you don't know what you're going to be able to do at the end of that. And I don't like to say, well, you're old now, so we can't do that, right? It just depends on the person, what they're willing to put in time-wise, or what they can put in time-wise, and how much they can change in their diet and their sleep. We put these limiting factors on ourselves, but there are people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s that do stuff that I can't do, and I'm 36. And so I think that if we are putting these barriers on ourselves, then that's a disservice to the people that we're trying to help. However, it doesn't mean I'm going to push someone to do something they're not capable of and or potentially hurt themselves, right? But, we refer to everyone who walks in the door as an athlete, so that they start changing their mindset and they're like, yeah, I am an athlete. I can do this.
The mind is a powerful thing. You kind of have to start there even before the body. Something you were talking about with now you're trying to do more muscle ups and the gymnastics are a struggle. Now that seems to tie into the infinite scalability that you were talking about. So there's lots of different types of goals or lots of different movements or competitions that you can try to optimize yourself for, right? In CrossFit?
Yeah, I mean, so like we said earlier with the programming, that we're going to see certain movements no matter what. You're going to see in the competitions, whether it's a CrossFit sanctioned event or a local event put on for a charity or something along those lines, you're going to see some basic barbell work. It might be deadlifts, it might be cleans, it might be snatches. There's this idea that there is going to be these movements you will always see because it has to be safe. It has to be repeatable, and there needs to be movement standards. That's one of the big things with CrossFit, having a movement standard, right? You guys, we talked about the toes to bar a little bit more when we further clarified, so that if you went to a different place and you're like, toes to bar, all right, yeah, I got it. Or the hanging knee tuck. That way, the lexicon is something that you can go anywhere and be able to do it, and we're all on the same page. But the real big challenge is the load that's being utilized, the rep scheme, and time domain. So that's where we play all the time, making it different. The other day Shana did a supplemental workout that I programmed for her where she was rowing. How many meters or how much time was it?
The Tabata one?
No, the one with the muscle ups every 3 minutes.
Oh, it was a 10. So I had to row a 10K.
So she had to row 10,000 meters on the rower.
And then every 5 minutes, I would have to perform a muscle up.
So we're fatiguing her posterior chain with her hamstrings, glutes, lats. But when she goes to kip to do the muscle up, she's utilizing that same musculature. So we want to see under the fatigue of a high rep, low weight movement with the rowing, how that would affect her ability to achieve the muscle up. So that way we're still building towards those things. So the programming is always trying to tax in different ways the muscles, so that there's, the Tony Horton P90X muscle confusion idea. It's not really inaccurate. We're always trying to see how we will react to a certain stimulus, right? Maybe we'll do our 8x3 deadlifts after our workout and you're gassed. Now what do we got in the tank? And that's why we continue to make progress doing this, because we're not allowing our body to always adapt to the stimulus. So we're constantly challenging it with different loads and reps.
Yes, there's always some sort of new stimulus to adapt to. But yeah. I would assume that also makes recovery really important. You had mentioned nutrition and sleep. So the other side of the coin is that you work with people a lot on their nutrition.
So yes, recovery is extremely important. And I own a gym, and I will tell people that if your food's not in check, you're going to have a really hard time, right? So we do pretty regularly, and actually soon we're going to be doing another healthy eating challenge. We try to spark people to make these decisions and choices without the motivation of money, but money does a lot of cool stuff for people. And so with my master's in nutrition, I treat a lot of different athletes, not just for weight loss, but we deal with a lot of disease conditions, and weight loss is a great positive side effect of that. And so one of the things when people are looking to lose weight loss that is simple, carbohydrates need to be earned. And that's a really easy concept to understand, because I have people who have been successful that are vegan, vegetarian, paleo, keto, macros, South Beach, carnivore, and everything and anything in between. And really what it comes down to is what is going to be sustainable for you long term. And that's the type of eating style that you should go with. It doesn't matter what it's not that it doesn't matter, but just because Shana does it doesn't mean you should do it. Just because I do it doesn't mean I should do it. Or you guys should do it. So a lot of the stuff that we deal with in nutrition is, figuring out something that's going to be helpful and long-term success for you, but also dealing with a lot of the psychological components that are associated with why we make bad food choices, right? A lot of us chase those childhood memories of feeling good, of pancakes at our grandparents' house and things like that. And we go back to those things. And that's really hard to overcome. And so what we try to do, and the food part's easy, right? Like, McDonald's is not good for you. Everyone, knows that. Okay. But why do we go back to it? So we end up having to create these new stress management strategies. And I always use a couple of examples that seem silly, but I like to iron because it's something that I can make perfect, right? I can iron a shirt and make it from a wrinkly mess to something perfect, and it's cathartic. I like to mop the gym floor, same reason. I'll go drink an energy drink, drive my car to Devil's Hole or Chestnut Ridge, listen to my audiobook, run 6 miles, and write. And those are my stress relieving strategies that work for me. And some of people might be like, ironing, that's crazy. But when I say, hey, maybe you want an adult coloring book, it doesn't seem as crazy, right? And I tell people, whatever it is for you, that's cool. I don't care. But we got to figure out stuff that works for you. And so what's been really cool is we do that. We have this big support group, and now Shana does her meal prep service, and I can say, Shana can give you keto meals. Shana can do paleo meals. Shana can do macro balanced meals for you. And that's been a really big help in terms of creating the continuity in their eating and not really having to think about it, right? Because if we don't prepare to do this, right, you don't prepare your food, then you prepare to fail. And so Shana's kind of really helped people be more successful in that journey.
How do you feel about that?
I love feeding people. I love cooking. I love being in the kitchen. Like I said, I taught myself how to cook, and when I learned how to cook, it was paleo basically. So I've gone from doing, eating paleo to, I read this book by Dave Asprey, The Bulletproof Diet. And then I, spent a couple years, cutting my carbs down even more and going bulletproof. And then I found keto and stuck to keto for almost a year. And so I've experimented and cooked a lot of different eating styles, and I'm a fan of all of them, to be honest with you. But I try and mix it up. I have some clients who have autoimmune disorders that can have certain foods. Tomatoes being one of them. So sometimes I have to get creative and make different sauces and whatnot. And the whole group gets to try it, because it's delicious anyway. So I try and mix it up and make everybody crush their workouts here by eating my food.
Yeah, you're hitting them twice.
So how many clients do you have?
About 25. Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
And so you're preparing meals for the week for 25 people?
Yeah. So people get anywhere from like 3 meals to 10 or 12 meals from me. So it just depends on what they're ordering. I keep it kind of simple. I cook 3 different meals each week, and I post my recipe, and people will place their orders, and then I deliver here to the gym. People pick up.
So does everyone have an individualized macro breakdown, or is it kind of everyone is in the same grouping?
Everybody's pretty much in the same grouping right now, except for the keto people. For my keto clients, I will discard the carbs for their dishes and add some more oil.
Okay.
And then is there different maybe amounts perhaps based on the person or on the
Well, if
everybody?
they're doing keto, they get extra oil, but they also get more veggies. So the vegetables are their carbs. I like to force vegetables on people. They get like a cup, if not more, veggies, plus whatever veggie sauce I put on there. So I'm trying
Per
to...
meal.
Huh?
Per meal.
Per meal. Yeah, per meal. So I try and get people more comfortable with eating whole food, really. A lot of people have a bad relationship with food and don't know what to eat and, stay away from vegetables, green veggies. You say vegetable, and yeah, I ate a sweet potato today. Well, what kind of green leafy veggie did you have? So I try and mix up Brussels sprouts and broccoli, and I throw kale in there, leeks. I mean, you name it. I've cooked with a lot of stuff. I actually do these cauliflower crust pizzas too that people are a little wild about. I'm going to actually do those for tomorrow. I started them today. I got the cauliflower and started the process, but it takes a long time. So
we're not surprised to hear that people like pizza.
Yeah. I think 10 of the 12 people, because we'll ask you guys these questions later, but it has to do with the cheat meal aspect, and it's always pizza. So, and that's one of mine as well.
Pizza's delicious. Why not? Why not have low carb pizza made out of vegetables?
I just eat the top. I don't eat the bread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a better man than me.
Are you keto?
To an extent, I've found that through my own experimentation that kind of having a shorter time window where I eat and not having a lot of grain-based carbohydrates has been really helpful for me just in general. Typically, if I eat bread, I'm a little sluggish, lethargic. I get a lot more puffy instantaneously, kind of like in my face and under my eyes. So in terms of performance enhancement, it's been pretty good for me. If I feel like I'm feeling a little sluggish or lethargic, I'll have a higher carbohydrate meal or two. I'll go get sushi or something along those lines. But the way I feel not eating it just feels good.
So you found what works for you.
Correct.
And then you don't, for some reason, go around preaching that to everybody else. Because you said you work with people on, different types of diets to see what works with them.
Sure. And no, just because what I found works for me, I really try not
to
do that. But, I'll ask people when we first meet, do you feel like something like this is something you could do? And I really try to get across, like, you're not going to hurt my feelings if you tell me you can't eat something or you wouldn't like to eat a certain way, because we're not here for me, we're here for you. And I want to make sure that, whatever you're eating, it's successful. I don't want you to lie to me about your food journal. If you ate McDonald's 3 times in 3 days, you ate McDonald's 3 times in 3 days, and that's fine. But we're going to try and improve what it is that you're doing to help you. That's the whole point of us being here. It's not for you to lie to me and tell me things that'll make me feel good.
And to reach a goal that you set.
Absolutely.
That's other thing that's going on there. I think that's interesting because I do think that every diet probably can work depending on how you execute it.
And I think that this is something that needs a big distinction. You can lose weight on almost any diet, right?
That's what I'm thinking about.
And there's a difference between losing weight and being healthy. And I think that line gets blurred a lot for people. I have a lady who, she had gastric bypass. She had been doing a variety of different diets for a number of years. And we had come to find that, Shana was talking about people can't eat certain foods, that we had to do what's called a low lectin keto diet for her. So she had to avoid a lot of very specific vegetables that she used to love and do that within a keto framework. And she lost over 100 pounds doing that. And she feels amazing. And she wouldn't trade that for any of those foods again. But that's not something I would recommend to other people unless we have to get there. And that's what allows her to be healthy and also allowed her to lose weight loss. I mean, you go on a calorie restricted diet, I don't care if you're eating Twinkies, you're going to lose weight. That doesn't make it healthy, right? Just because you can doesn't mean we should.
Which goes back to the idea of fueling your workout, not necessarily just eating to eat.
Correct.
So, yeah. And I guess that's for me, like, that's one of my struggles is, I try intermittent fasting and I try to eat healthier, eat more vegetables, stuff like that. Like today I had broccoli, cauliflower, peppers, all this stuff in it. But sometimes it's the portioning for me. That's where I struggle the most, is like, how much should I really have eaten there? Because like today I'm more in recovery mode than I am in working out. And so I guess it's not something that's, I don't think it's always something you can police yourself. And I think that with you guys, doing it for other people is definitely more of an advantage.
Yeah. I mean, and it's a continuous process for us. Like you heard Shana saying, she's evolved her eating style and the way that she cooks all the time. And the same is true for me. I'm always experimenting with new and different things to try and figure out how this would work with someone else, to give an idea of what a response would be. Back to what you're saying about being in recovery versus a workout in terms of the food, we try to keep it as simple as possible. So, if you're going to eat 2,200 calories a day, you're going to eat 2,200 calories a day, regardless of working out or not. Because what we typically do, we'll do a BIA reading. It gives us muscle mass, body fat, water inside your cells, outside your cells, bone mineral content, all these really cool things. And we find out what our basal metabolic rate is. And basal metabolic rate is how many calories your body burns at rest. So you sit on the couch all day long, you don't do anything except to watch Game of Thrones, got to catch up. Like, that's our baseline calories, right? And we don't want to go below that, because if we start going below our basal metabolic rate, our body will start going after muscle and fat. Fat's more calorically dense, right? It has more energy in it, and your body's going to want to hold on to that longer because it wants brain function to be sustained. And so if we're in this really low calorie space, yes, you'll lose a lot of weight quickly, but it's not going to be good. And so we try to find something that's sustainable long term, where we have a gradual weight loss. The body can kind of keep that pace, and then it'll have this time where it sets itself at that point. You look at stuff like The Biggest Loser, those people lose a ton of weight, but most of them don't keep it off, even though they're trying to get paid to do it, because it's so drastic. And that's very appealing to people, but it's very unhealthy, and long term, it's not sustainable. And that's something that we really try to educate people with when we do our healthy eating challenge, when Shana does her meal stuff, and when we have our appointments with people, that we try to get across that we want slow and steady. That's what we're looking for. We don't want flash in the pan, because it'll go away.
Yeah, once again, it's not a race.
Yeah.
It also creates more of a lifestyle, as opposed to like this mentality that I'm going to chase, a certain weight, and then I've achieved my goal and I'm done.
Right.
Or,
we don't want to imply
a crash diet or a crash exercise plan.
Once we imply an end, that's setting you up for failure. We shouldn't be looking to do something until X and then go back to doing what we were doing before, because you're going to end up where you were in the first place. And that's not where anyone wants to be. That's why they're here in the first place.
And so the majority of your nutrition clients, are they athletes, or are they just regular people trying to become healthier, lose weight? What are kind of the goals that you see?
It's all over the place, but I would say most people start with the goal of, I want to look better naked. I want to fit into my clothes. And then there's some underlying medical issues, hypothyroidism, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, things like that. And we're tackling those things in conjunction. And then as they start losing more and more weight, and they kind of transform as a person, we start shifting into performance related goals. And like, I'd really like to do a toes to bar, or I'd really like to run a 5K or a half marathon. And so we start with those more, I guess, superficial and health related things. And then we start digging deep into these other ideas. And I had a lady who's been doing stuff with me for the past few years send me a message from Petra when she was in, I think that's in Jordan. I might be horribly wrong there, but she was doing all of this hiking and crushing it. And she's like, I would not have been able to do this if we weren't working together. And like, that stuff it's amazing. It's awesome. Like, that's fantastic.
Hits you in the feels.
Yeah, all in the feels.
So typically, comparative to kind of getting down maybe more of a different route here, but CrossFit, would you say is probably more expensive than a typical gym membership?
100%.
And what would you think, or what would you say is the value of getting, you're getting if you're coming to a CrossFit gym than just going to working out and, maybe not necessarily having a rhyme or reason at the gym? So
I worked at the BAC in Golds for a number of years, and, you see a lot of people come in and leave and go through, and most people come in, do the same thing every day, but everyone's there to get different. And that's kind of very counterintuitive. And so, yeah, you might pay $30 a month or whatever it is for one of those places, but you're not getting structured guidance every day. And basically for the cost of a couple personal training sessions a month, you will have a structured workout program every single day of the week. A couple days a week, you can come twice and do 2 different workouts because we have weightlifting on Sundays. We have our strength and conditioning class Friday nights. Shana rocks out a mobility class on Saturdays. And you are getting structured guided workouts designed and implemented by a doctor who is doing the same workouts as those people with multiple levels of scaling options. So you're getting a safe, programmed workout that gets you in and out in an hour and is geared towards making you a lighter, leaner, stronger, faster, more vibrant, vital person. And I think that's what most of the people who are going to the gym are seeking. And it really, for the people who were like, I'm pretty fit, you come in and you're going to see where the holes in your program are. And then you're like, oh man, I should probably do more of this. Or wow, I couldn't believe how hard that is. And if you don't let your ego get in the way, you can make a lot of progress and you get to do really cool stuff. We got an event coming up at the end of May. We have 12 people from the gym doing a 24-hour Go Ruck event, carrying a 40-pound pack throughout the city, 40-plus miles. It has a 50% finish rate, but
We're gonna crush it.
I'm hoping all 12 of our people finish. That would be badass. So, and most of our training is CrossFit, and that's really cool.
I would add to that, you get the community environment as well, because everybody out there, when we were here, they're high-fiving each other as they run by and stuff like that. So that's good to see.
And we try to, foster that. We do a lot of, I try to have the girls help me a lot with creating and doing different events, right? We go do different stuff together. We'll go do some hikes in the summer. We're going to go check out, I think, what is that, Central Rock Buffalo, the new climbing gym. We're going to probably go do a variety of different things. We've had a few different cookouts, parties, and things like that. And I think that comes down to that mutual suffering, because it's like going home from college and telling your parents you had real hard tests and like, oh yeah, they were real hard, but your friends get it and they don't. And when you come in and you do the workout, like you guys experience, like you go to tell someone about it who doesn't know, and they're like, that sounds kind of weird. But everyone else who was there knows exactly what you felt like. And there's that bonding that happens from that mutual suffering, and you guys kick ass and you get through it. And that's awesome.
Most of the time we get together the next day and we talk about how shitty the previous day was, but how great it is and how sore we are. And then we're here to do it all over again. I mean, you guys saw me progressively dying. You were standing outside for your class, right? And I kept on coming outside. And at first I was like all fresh, like, hey. And then towards the end, I was like, dying.
Yeah, me too.
Sweating.
I felt your pain at the end. I felt your pain.
You just got done doing the workout that you put us through?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured. I was like, oh, this is going to suck.
You see it the first time, oh, this look bad. Wait, things are getting progressively worse.
Yeah.
What's happening inside?
Like I said, I mean, we came in not really, I had no idea what to expect. I was just like, all right, I'm going to do whatever they say and then try. And then, obviously I accomplished that goal of trying, but it was like, I was like, oh man, I hope we don't run it all the time. I was like, I know it's just myself personally, but it's, to me, it's just like, I mean, we both have different types of bodies and different types of things that, we're better at in different ways. And so I think it's, it would be for me, it would be trying to consistency of running 200 meters, 500 meters, whatever it is. That would be probably my biggest challenge. But, you're obviously in a different echelon of this comparative to everybody else. And so how do you tone it down, or do you always kind of keep yourself at the maximum?
So I'm always trying to, I kind of gauge the workouts from previous workouts. They're never really the same, but it's something similar. So you get an idea of what you could do your toes to bar in, or how long the run is going to take you. Can you do your sets of deadlifts unbroken when you come back in? Can you sustain that throughout the workout, depending on how long the workout is? You don't come out guns blazing and then die 2 minutes in and you're shit the bed for the rest of the workout. sometimes days where he works out before me, I'm like, what did Dennis get? Because I'm going to kick his ass. And then other days,
it doesn't always happen.
Yeah. Like today wiped my face with the floor, whatever. But so no, I don't tone it down. I try and do my best. I'm always competing with Cheese too. She's a great lifter. Her CrossFit journey is kind of similar to how mine is. You know, she just comes in and does the work, you know. But scaling. So I mostly am at the RX level now. I hadn't started out that way. You know, I was L4, L5, whatever the modification was, huh?
What's that mean?
So
thank you.
So there is RX level, which is the workout as is, and then infinitely scalable, right? So L1 is like mod down. L2 is the next mod down.
So weights might be lower, and the gymnastics movement might be
different,
less high skill.
So with somebody who is scaling the workout, you kind of get to look at the board and you get to see, well, okay, most people are getting, you know, three rounds. Let's just say 3 rounds, you know, and then you see some outliers. Like maybe sometimes I'm an outlier. Me and Dennis get a little bit more rounds than people. But we have a group of people that are the same. And then you try and gauge that and do the same amount of rounds as somebody who's doing a different level than you, right? Because it's supposed to be all the same.
There's always a knowing how you are as an athlete and then applying strategy. There are some workouts where it's a dead out sprint. The shorter the workout, the scarier it's going to get because it's super high intensity. You know, when you have a lot longer workout, it becomes very strategic. Where do I take a break? Where do I break up my sets? Can I do it unbroken like Shana said? So there are days, you know, it isn't always all out. It's not a dead sprint every day because you wouldn't be able to sustain that level of intensity, right? So when we're looking at longer workouts, we might put something in that gives you this kind of break almost where it's 1,000-meter run or a row, where this is where we recover a little bit, but we're not just walking through that portion to gather yourself for the next round. And the big thing we talk about, like Saturdays, we do team workouts. And the strategy in a team workout is typically move as fast as you can for as long as you can. I typically don't say everyone has to do, you got to do 5 reps, you got to do 5 reps, you got to do 5 reps. I do 5 reps. You break it up how you want. We might throw in heavy deadlifts, then we might throw in some toes to bar. And you'd be like, Dan, I'm going to do the deadlifts, you do the toes to bar, or maybe you switch it up for the day, right? But it's knowing how all those athletes operate together, have really good communication, and then execute. And we always want to make sure people are aware you might need to change plan. Right? It really is like a microcosm of life where you start something, totally got this. And then you're like, oh shit, what just happened? I think I'm going to die. And then you make it through and it's very rewarding. And it just happens on repeat. And you start getting better. And you're like, oh wait, I know this trap. I know this is how I'm going to feel. I'm going to slow down just a little bit. And then you get a little bit further and it keeps happening like that.
So is a longer workout kind of like a deload? Because the question that's been popping in my head this whole time is, do you have like planned weeks where you're scaling back and then you progress again later, or is it a constant progression?
So within our strength programming, there will be periods of deload, but typically the way the programming works is I program every night based off of what's the weather like in Buffalo? Can we go outside? Is there something that we can do outside? Can we do loaded farmers carries? Can we do overhead carries, walking lunges, running, backwards running, side shuffle, whatever? 2, how have we been performing as a group? How is everyone feeling? You know, everyone checks in on social media and is like, my butt's real sore or whatever. And so I do listen to that, and I'm going to, you know, we have a workout that has a ton of pull-ups in it or toes. We did another workout this week, a ton of toes to bar. A lot of people's hands were beat up. So we've been kind of easing them on the past couple of days with that. And then what types of workouts have we done? Have we done any monostructural workouts where it's just one movement? Have we done a chipper recently? Have we done it every minute on the minute? And we're always switching that up. But to answer your question, is a longer workout a deload? No, not necessarily. So we did a workout the other day. We did the every minute on the minute workout where it was 10 rounds so it was a 40-minute workout. And every minute on the minute, you did one of 4 things. Minute 1 was 3 hang cleans, and the RX weight was 245 pounds for guys. 155 for ladies. So hang clean, you stand up with a barbell from a deadlift, you bring it from your hips to your shoulders 3 times. Rest if you have time within that minute. Minute 2 was do 11 toes to bar, which you gentlemen rocked out last week. And then minute 3 was 21 calories on the rower in less than 60 seconds.
Straight death.
Okay. And then we followed that up with a 1-minute rest period. So we had a high nervous stimulus with the hang clean. That's a fairly heavy weight for even a strong guy or girl. 155 for the ladies, right? Then we have a gymnastics component that is not high reps, but it's on that borderline of, can I do all 10 or 11 in a row as an RX athlete, or do I need to break this up? And then 21 calories, you got to do some work in a minute. That means that you're pulling on that rower pretty quick to generate 21 calories in a minute based off of that workload. And so that was a hard, heavy, long workout. And a lot of people didn't like it. And, we guide people, but sometimes they make bad decisions and they'll choose an adventure that doesn't end in the way they foresaw it happening. And, we had about a 40% yes on that, meaning, yes, I did all my reps, or no, I might have failed on a couple of things. And most of it was on the rower with the calories. But we want to fail. We want people to safely fail, because that is where the margins of our experience is with failure. And how do they react? Do they break down mentally? Do they break down physically? What happened? Why did they fail? Was it just hard? Did they have a bad day at work? And those are things that we're always trying to push into and experience and experiment with.
Do you work with your athletes about like auto-regulation and whatnot?
What do you mean by that?
In the sense of if they've had bad sleep, bad day, just all that kind of thing, and just kind of maybe not going as hard as possible for that day's events, or
so that's a big part of the warm-up is assessing the class. Where is everybody? We keep really good communication with our athletes, and we treat them like extended family. And so in doing that, we kind of have an idea of what's going on with people. And that's where, as we see people moving around, if someone who's 30 is moving around like they're 75 and has arthritis everywhere, there's going to be some conversations had. Then we typically go into our strength session. Again, we're seeing that. And when we're seeing all of these things, we're making sure we're talking to people and having these conversations. And then that's where we're guiding them. Hey man, you're moving pretty rough today. Why don't we do this? And then they're like, well, I really want to do this. And then it might be like, listen, is that your ego talking? Or do you really think you should do that? And ultimately, that decision is up to the coach, because the coach is in charge of the class, not the athlete. But there's this give and take back and forth, because we got to give them a little bit of what they want and a little bit of what they need. But, ultimately, we're the guide on the journey, and we want to make sure people are safe. And we try to really get across, like, this is a workout. This is not the workout. I'd rather you take it a little easier today and be able to come back and crush it tomorrow and the next day, versus you let your ego write some checks here and then you got to take 3 days off because you can't move.
What are some of the, I guess about this, so and this could be for both of you, either you can answer, but somebody coming in first time, what are some of the things you let them know preparation wise, or accessories, anything like that they should they should have or be I guess prepared for?
I mean, I guess people fill out their paperwork. I just make sure, see what kind of injuries they have, what kind of prior experience they might have. A lot of people come in dehydrated, so you want to make sure that people are hydrated, ready, kind of that their bodies are ready and primed for what we're doing. But it's pretty much class dependent. Depending on what we're doing for the class, you kind of get a feel for where they might be, obviously, and watch them move and see how they'll do for the day. Want to add on that?
Is there like an assessment, like prior?
We have a few different options to start. I don't know if you guys actually read that first page of your sheets that talks about how aggressive CrossFit is, and it is, and it's really, that's not for every person. That's for the guys who will come in and think they're awesome and can crush everything. And I just want to let them know, like, this is something you're probably not experienced with.
Oh, yeah.
And not you guys, but there are some guys that
I was humbled by it. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm a fantastic athlete by any means, and nor do I look it, but I would say that I'm not your average. I'm like, just a little bit above average. And I'd say that, I still got humbled by doing the workouts but I also not having a frame of reference prior. So that was the difference comparatively.
So we offer the option, if someone would like to come into a class, they can try that out. We look at the paperwork. If there is some really significant red flags, we might tell them a class is not the best option right now. And then typically, if it's a person like that, I run an individual 30-minute assessment with them. We do some very basic stretching movements, and we take them through a 7-minute long body weight workout. If someone wants to just come in and see what one-on-one something looks like, we do that as well. And it's pretty underestimated, but it's fast and aggressive. It sees cardiovascular capacity, your ability to move your body through space under no load, and how they respond to it. And so there's a few different ways that people can get started. And, it's just making sure that they feel comfortable with what's happening. We let them know it's going to be a lot harder than they anticipate. You hear 7-minute workout, you're like, how hard can 7 minutes be? And try to get them to understand prior to, listen, you're bringing a lot of intensity. I'm right next to you. I'm holding you to a standard the whole time. And you're going to be moving faster because you think you need to impress me and you really don't. But it's just psychologically, that's what's going to happen.
I was going to say, it's just a mind thing.
So after the workout, I'm like, listen, you're going to be really sore. Drink a lot of water, dark leafy greens, Epsom salt bath is your best friend. Keep moving around. And they're just not used to it. And I think a lot of it too is just maintaining a movement standard when tired and fatigued that people aren't used to. They shorten the range of motion, they lighten the weight, those types of things. And, we tell people a lot of times, like, if this is what we start with, as they get more experience, it really becomes solidified. You make your bed, you lie in it. If you're going to choose 135 for the workout, you're going to stay with 135. You're not going to change it because you're not, moving as fast as you would like for today's activities.
Yeah, I definitely. That was like I think I had at least 185, maybe 200 something. I think on the deadlifts, and I was like, well, this is what I got to do. I was like, I'm doing it. I was like, that's where I'm at. I was, it's definitely something where I was thinking about that before I put them on. I was like, all right, is this? And I was asking the other guy who was probably about similar build as me. I was like, how much you putting on there? He's like 185 or something like that. I was like, all right, yeah, that's what I'll do. Just trying to gauge.
Yeah, and it is always gauging. Like Shana was saying, like, how does she pace the workout? We have an idea when we write the workout. I write the workout, I send it to the coaches, and we have a back and forth discussion of what is my anticipation, what is their anticipation. Hey, so-and-so has been dealing with an injury. What do we expect? So we already have this little bit of a heads up, I guess, in terms of what it's going to be like. And, but again, there's still that nervousness, like, man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this, or if I'm going to be able to get as far as I want to, or, I don't finish the workout, and that happens. And so that's the cool thing too, is that we're all in that same boat together of that nervous energy. And is it going to happen? Am I going to make it? Am I going to, just be destroyed by a workout? And I think that really creates, again, a unique environment. I'll take a class while someone else is coaching and vice versa. And they see it goes, I think, a long way in terms of like, oh yeah, they do what they say they do,
Well, I like how you mentioned earlier that you don't necessarily know what you're capable of, or some people don't know what they're capable of, and then they come in here and they realize, they can do this, they can get through it, they can make slow progress, consistent progress by sticking to it over time. And so then I think about that, and I think about Shana, how you said when you started out, you were long, lanky, you didn't, you had long nails.
Yeah.
You just had been maybe doing some running and some P90X and whatnot, and now you're competing.
Yes.
So did you ever think that you would get to a point where you would be competing in CrossFit Games? A, and then B, I want to talk about your experience competing, because I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So I never initially thought that I would be signing up for competitions and doing competitions, actually. And then at the old gym, there were a lot of people who did do competitions, and in competitions, there's also scalable versions. So they have like an RX division and a scaled division. I spent a lot of my first couple years in the scaled division, not being able to perform, a lot of gymnastics movements, because that's, I guess, has always been my struggle. And then I got to the point where I was good enough to go into the RX group, and it was a lot of team competitions before, but I do really like and enjoy individual competitions because it's just me out there doing my thing. But I like it because every time I leave a competition, I know that I want to work towards getting better again. I mean, you come here, you spend your hour. I'm going to work out anyway, even if it's not CrossFit. I would spend time working out. So if I know I come and I give it my all, depending on my mood, so not everybody's in a great headspace every single time they come to class, right? But I'm going to work out anyway. So if I'm going to be doing these things, I want to do them well. So that's what really structured my eating and trying to be more competitive, because now I'm like, what can get me better? So
I think it's important that you just said that you're not perfect every day, even though you finished 72nd in the world in your
just
in your
for
event.
that
Because
one
I think,
workout.
kind of alluding to what we were talking about, I mean, it might have been before we turned the mics on, but with social media, like a lot of people get this vision of like, you're just perfect, you're killing it every day. Like, how can I ever attain something like that?
Oh yeah, no, there's been days where I've come in here and stared and cried at the wall because I can't do a movement, or maybe the week had beat me up so much that, there's a certain movement that I normally can do, and then I guess I'm talking about handstand push-ups specifically.
Let's just talk about it.
What's your bugaboo?
So, but it's rewarding because then you have those days where it is so much better, and you're like, okay, so I do have it in me. You just have to keep on, digging for that and channeling it, and then it sticks around longer and longer.
Do you compete as well, Dennis?
Yeah, I do. Back to, Shana saying, and then Dan, I think what you were saying earlier, like what happens is with these people start doing all these really cool things, they start to lose perspective, right? They're looking up at the top of the mountain continuously. And we have to, as coaches, be like, dude, look where you came from. Like when you started, you couldn't do X, Y, and Z. And right now you're frustrated because you can't do 30 kipping pull-ups in a row. You couldn't do one when you started, right? And that happens a lot where we have to give that perspective. I got to have these talks with Shana and Erica and other coaches with themselves, because they want that achievement of that pinnacle of success. But it's like having that perspective is huge. I just wanted to say that regarding that. But
yeah,
yes, I do.
I think it's important for people to think about measuring themselves against themselves, not against others.
Right. And not just seeking the peak, because not everyone can always get there. And we talk a lot about enjoying that process and journey of getting there. And if you're not enjoying that daily process, when you get to that goal, there's probably going to be a significant lack of fulfillment in achieving that goal.
Just being honest with yourself.
Yeah. But yes, I do compete. I'm currently listed as a master's athlete according to CrossFit, being 36. So that's pretty cool. I did fairly well in the open this year. I finished in like the 96th or 97th percentile for my age group. And then, I'll do a bunch of local competitions. We're doing the Go Ruck thing. I like doing that type of stuff, trying to do some team and partner comps over the summer and things like that. We just did a competition a couple of weeks ago. It was supposed to be a 3-person competition, and we only had 2, but we took 8th out of 13 teams with only 2 guys on a 3-person competition. So we held our own. Doing the same work. Nothing was really scaled, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, I started getting into CrossFit because I liked competition, and I did a whole bunch of marathons and ultra marathons and did the death race and those types of things. And CrossFit was kind of like this competitive evolution that I started getting into, and every day it's kind of like a mini competition. I got a group of friends I text every day, and we talk crap to each other about who won the workout and who's weak and whatever. So it's fun.
I think one more question for me is for, and then once again for both of you guys too, is, longevity wise, for these competitions and for other people out there who see you guys compete and maybe want to do that, how long do you think you could, because you said a couple of years ago about when you first opened up, is that when you started competing?
2011.
Dennis? Oh, so all right, so about 8 years ago. And when was your first competition, Shana?
2013. Yeah.
Okay, so about within about the same amount of time, and you guys have been able to probably get better as you've been going on. And how long for like the average competitor who is able to compete in these type of things? How long does that last for?
I think because CrossFit's so new still, right? I mean, the CrossFit Games have been around for now 11 years. It's still so new of a sport and activity that longevity is going to be really dictated by your awareness of your body and intelligence. There's people who compete in triathlons, powerlifting, and more, I would say, established sports that can only last a couple of years. And then you got people doing it 20 plus years. And I think it's really going to come down to smart training, not trying to do everything too fast at once, and, really listening to your body. When it's telling you, hey, you got to back off a little bit, you need to slow down a little bit, that's important. There's many times where I program stuff for Shana and Erica and they want more. And it's my job to hold those reins back on them as a coach, because I'm thinking long-term for their success versus, hey, we have an opportunity to get you somewhere real quick, but that might end up blowing you up for a year or two. And it's like, well, what's the trade-off there? And it's that idea of making them crawl before they walk. So, we really try to do a good job of sustaining longevity for everybody. I joke that I want all of my athletes to be my patient as a chiropractor, but I don't want it to be because of me. And, I try to be living proof of what I do, that again, I want to do this long term. I was told when I was, I think 27, let's see if you'll be doing this when you're 40. 36 and I'm doing crazier stuff. And I hope at 40, I'm doing even crazier stuff. And so I'm just always just listening and being smart. If I need a rest day, I need a rest day. And, we use technology to help ourselves out. We use these Whoop straps. Those are pretty cool. They do a lot of recovery data. And I think with technology continuing to improve, we have a lot of options available to us to assist ourselves in making sure we're where we need to be.
This might be a silly question, but are there like age divisions in the CrossFit Games?
Yeah. So like I said, me being in Masters, 35 to 39 is the first age group category. And then it goes up in like 5-year increments.
Okay.
You don't see any changes to the actual movements until you hit 55, but I'm not competing against a guy who's 18.
Right.
Being double his age, which is weird for me to say, thinking that right now.
So with that in mind, you could, in theory, compete for quite a long time.
Yeah. And they
like the NFL or something where...
Correct, yeah. It's not quite that bad.
Start hitting your peak right around now.
Yeah. And some competitions actually will have masters level competitive framework, but for now I still compete with all the RX guys and girls, depending on what competitions we do. We got some pretty badass athletes that we compete with, but the cool thing is we always try to bring a large group of people. And like Shana said, there's those scaled groups, and that taste of competition for people who maybe have never been an athlete or haven't been an athlete for a long time. Like we had so many people, we did this competition called Strength Fights Cancer, which was for a family member of mine who passed from cancer last year, Jake Madonia, and it's for his Lotus Flower Foundation. We had a few athletes who had never competed before, and afterwards they're like, when's the next competition?
Tweaking out.
Yeah. They're like, I want to do that again because it's fun. Like this t-shirt I have on, it says Saved by the Barbell on the back, like Saved by the Bell. Like you make cool shirts, you have a fun team name, we go get food afterwards. Again, it's that camaraderie, it's that team. Even maybe if you're not competing at the exact same time, it's awesome. It's fun.
Yeah, we have athletes come and support, like even if they're not signed up for the competition, they just come and hang out. I think that's one of the things that kept me in CrossFit is I've never ever felt athletic before, and then all of a sudden I've started chipping off all these little goals that I didn't even know I had, to be honest with you. I just started to be able to do things, and then you get people's reaction to your physical appearance, and they're like, what do you do? And it's just like, are you an athlete? Do you box? Are you Ronda Rousey? Like, no. I was walking to Rite Aid today, and some guy's like, nice traps. And I was like, what the hell? Like, just random. But it's cool. I've never felt like an athlete, and I feel like I can destroy things.
nice traps, girl. Oh man,
that competition aspect is like that just you talking about it like makes me want to join.
Yeah,
CrossFit,
all of a sudden I'm like, all right, now I gotta.
I miss competing.
I mean,
That's how it is for my alumni football team. We're
Yeah.
like, all right, we'll just get one more game. That, we never thought we'd play again after high school. And you play this game, and you're like, now you're addicted to playing every year. And I'm watching my one roommate not be able to play this year because he hasn't had an ACL for like 10 years. But it's just gotten to the point now where he can't put that pressure on, like you can't make the moves and all that. And so now not being able to see him play with me is taking a little bit more out of it. Like it's not as enjoyable, but knowing that I still want to play. So it's tough, but it's like you get to that age and it's so you're in the Masters division, that's where we consider ourselves. We're in the Masters, football, but it's having that like competitive spirit and juices and like, all right, now I want to go out there and
it's an
just
awesome
to have fun
competitive outlet. And August 17th, we have a competition here. Partners, you guys could be on the same team. It's called Barbells for Bullies, and it's we have my girlfriend and I. We have a rescue pit bull, Carlo. He has an awesome Instagram, Carlo the pit bull.
Shout out.
We're doing a competition to raise money locally for pit bull organizations, and so it's a charity event. It'd be cool to do. Just throwing that out there for you guys. No pressure.
No pressure.
But it's going to be on the internet, this right now.
All right. Yeah.
We just got called out. So
yeah, we could
sign up.
We might have to.
Even if you don't sign up, honestly, come and check it out. Because if you've never experienced what a competition's like, it's a really cool environment to be in. Everyone's cheering each other on. It's just fun. It's just like being at a sporting event,
Yeah, it's good to know there's something like that in the area.
There's a bunch of stuff like
we'll
that.
We'll just come in for the tournaments,
Yeah, just do CrossFit at competitions.
Just celebrity competitions. Yeah, we'll just come in.
Just try not to finish last.
Yeah, that's my goal. Never finish last. All right, so let's wrap it up with some shotgun questions, and then we'll get you guys out of here. This is our questions that I like to ask every guest, and first one is, what is your favorite cheat meal? We'll go Dennis. Or you want ladies first? Ladies first. Shana, go ahead.
This is really easy. Ice cream. It's not even a cheap meal. It's just ice cream.
That's fine.
I love chocolate, peanut butter, caramel, you name it. I like mint ice cream.
This is the best answer we've gotten so far.
Oh my God.
No, it's not.
I can't, I can't get rid of it. Like, I want to not eat ice cream, but I eat ice cream at least once a week, if not twice a week.
Yeah, I'll go like a Tonight Show dough. I'll just get like a little pint at Ben & Jerry's.
Delicious. Ben & Jerry's actually has like their Halo Top version of ice cream, and there is this peanut butter dough, like PB dough, and it's chocolate ice cream with peanut butter cookie dough bites in there. It's
They just, sold.
Yeah, this is all amazing. This is way better than pizza as an answer. I'm on team ice cream with Shana.
Sweets get me.
Go ahead.
And then Dennis might say, I don't believe in cheat meals because he's a nutritionist. But
no, I mean, it depends on what I had done. If it's a competition or something crazy like The Rock, I'm going to eat everything in sight. So I'll go to a restaurant and order like 3 or 4 meals, and people look, and I've been told multiple, you've been with me at a restaurant and they're like, I didn't think you'd eat all that. And so if we go to a Mexican restaurant, I'm going to crush everything. We went and we got like 7 quesos. I got an order of 4 or 5 tacos. I got a steak ranchero. I ate 2 bowls of nachos, but like I'll crush pizza. I'll crush wings, anything and everything. It's just whatever we go do, I'll eat a lot of food. And if it's a competition, I'll eat some bad food. I don't care. And then just back at it the next day.
You don't have a favorite though?
It's like a favorite movie. I mean, it depends on, what it is. I mean, I love,
depends on the genre.
Here's the deal. I love food. So I started working out more to eat more food. So when I was at UB, I once ate at Burger King UB, right in the Commons. Do you guys remember that? You ever be at UB?
I went to UB.
Yeah.
Okay. I had 3 triple cheeseburgers, a fried chicken sandwich, a large fry, and a Diet Coke at one sitting just for lunch, like regular day. Mm-hmm. I used to eat 2 subs at a time. So like I used to house food all the time. So like if I didn't work out,
I do.
I was non-discriminatory eater, so I've been trying to correct that lately.
Full disclosure, I left after last week. I left here. I went right to Chef's, and I got the spaghetti parm to go, 1 meatball, and I was just like, this is my happy life. I was like, I earned this.
It's good you did that after and not before, because there would have been spaghetti parm outside.
Yeah, there would have been the spaghetti parm everywhere. No, I sat in the car. I was like, you know what? I'm not downtown very often. I'm like, and like for a long period of time, I was like, so what can I get down here? And I was like, chefs to go. And I was like, spaghetti parm. Yes. All right. Food is good.
Yes.
It's the best.
Favorite exercise movement? CrossFit exercise movement.
I don't know if I
got
have
one.
a favorite.
Bear complex.
What is that?
So a bear complex is a barbell movement where you will do a squat clean. So you'll get the bar from the floor to your shoulders, perform a front squat, take the bar up overhead, put it on your back squat it, put it back up over your head, and then bring it back down.
Okay. That is a complex.
Yeah. And it's a bear.
That is a bear complex. Okay.
Might have to get a video of this to put on the blog.
Yeah.
I do like overhead squats. I do like, mostly because I'm kind of good at them.
Kind of.
Kind of good at those.
I got traps for days.
Yeah.
That is true. Shana's traps have fingers. They can hold on to barbells.
Yep.
Okay. This is a little bit of a stronger one. If you could change one thing about your CrossFit career, what would it be?
Wishing that I started sooner.
It's a pretty typical answer.
Yeah. You find something
Like
that actually,
right from out the womb, or
right out the womb.
She came up with CrossFit.
yeah.
I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, just
Because
sooner.
that's a typical answer, I think we need to remind the listeners to get off their ass and get into a fitness class of some kind. We've done enough
Exactly.
episodes
Now is the time.
There's lots of options out there.
That's right. That's right.
And you won't regret it. You'll only regret that you didn't do it sooner.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would say that, that starting sooner is the typical answer, but I'm going to go with the complete opposite. I wouldn't change anything because I'm very happy with where I am, the progress I've made, and all of the CrossFit mistakes I have made have allowed me to get here. And some of those mistakes have allowed me to help other people and not make those same mistakes. So I'm going to take that opposite road and say, I'm happy with that choice, but that doesn't mean to the listeners, continue sitting on the couch until you just fall into a CrossFit class.
I don't think people who listen to us are sitting on the couch, actually.
In your car.
We hope.
Yeah.
I like
Eating pasta parm.
We hope.
I like the no regrets answer. I mean, it's what makes you who you are. It's
Right.
what gets you to the point you are at.
So Shana, your answer was wrong.
Wow.
Not wrong. Just
Yeah, but she had the best answer of all time with
Correct.
with
With
the
the
ice
ice
cream.
cream.
That's right.
So
Wow.
all is forgiven.
1 out of 3 ain't bad.
It's a Hall of Fame numbers.
That's right. What is next for you in your CrossFit career?
I'm going to continue striving. I want to make it to the games one day. I hate to admit that, but I'm striving for it. I'm working towards it.
Don't hate to admit it.
Oh, that's public.
Yeah, it's called.
Yeah, no. It's
called
that's
goals.
fine. I've made an Instagram post about it just one time. But yeah, I just want to continue getting better. My daughter just started doing CrossFit. She's kind of dabbled in it, but she's strong, and I want to continue to be a good influence for her in that aspect, and also help feed people continuously as well.
Feed people.
Yeah,
That's good.
let me feed you.
For me, we have the Go Ruck event in May, which kind of briefly talked about. That's a huge thing. I never did a 24-hour event like that. And Go Ruck has an event called Selection. It's over 48 hours long, one person. You're one person, and it has like a 2% success rate. So that's something I would like to do, I think, next year. Continue to grow the business, have some really cool stuff potentially on tap in the future that I can't yet talk about. But, just continue to come in every day and be the best part of people's day for working with them and get them to continue to work towards their goals is really what gets me going.
Shana, real quick, what's the name of your business, and how can people get a hold of you if they want you to feed them?
Built Without Guilt, and I'm on Instagram. I have a website that's under construction, so it's not quite up yet, but it's BuiltwithoutGuilt.club.
Okay.
So that should be up within the next couple weeks.
Sounds good. We'll put some links out there too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Last question. Any pro tips you want to impart on our audience?
Be patient and stay consistent. No matter what endeavor. I mean, that could be business. That could be, your fitness goals. That could be, your new diet that you're trying. But you have to give it time, and maybe you find out that it doesn't work for you, but you're never going to know that unless you actually commit to it.
I will steal from Gary V, and I will say that, try to live your life without regret and do the things you're afraid of, because you talk to the people who are in the nursing homes, the things that they regret most are the things they didn't do. So, make those leaps, make those jumps, regardless of what it's involved in: fitness, health, profession, love life, that type of stuff. I'd rather live a life full of awesome mistakes than a life full of regret. And, that's the examples we try to set for the people that we love and care about. And that's something that I think if everyone did, we'd be in a lot cooler place.
Great answers.
Yeah, definitely respect.
Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, and real quick, so where can people, if they want to find you, where can they find you guys?
They can find Quarterdeck Athletics on Instagram, Quarterdeck Athletics. QD Athletics is our website. We are at the corner of Ellicott and Clinton. We're at the CrossFit gym, loud music, weird people running around outside. Hop in on a class, and, we'll help you out.
I'm on Instagram, Shana Maldonado, my name, and then also for my business at Built Without Guilt. So both of those places.
Okay, great.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, guys. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the HeroFit podcast with Nick and Dan. We hope you've enjoyed this show. And if you want to learn more about this episode or listen to past podcasts, please check out HeroFitPodcast.com. We know that you're strong, so don't just smash that subscribe button. Instead, gently tab or tap it, with your offhand. Leave us a review on iTunes, follow us on Spotify, Google, or whatever medium you're listening to us on. And if you really like this episode, please share it with a friend. Join us next time. Until then, keep it classy.
This has been another episode of the HeroFit Podcast, making humans great again, one podcast at a time.